HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy is defending the shakeup at the CDC in a Senate hearing and saying that it was absolutely a necessity. As you guys may or may not be aware of course, the former head of the CDC was fired, and then a bunch of people actually left, resigned in protest. And now you got a bunch of senators asking questions about like, what the hell is going on? Meanwhile, the person that they're putting in charge is a psychopath, is another Peter Thiel acolyte.
America is home to 4.2% of the world's population, yet we had nearly 20% of the COVID deaths. We literally did worse than any country in the world. And the people at CDC who oversaw that process, who put masks on our children, who closed our schools, are the people who will be leaving. And that's why we need bold, competent, and creative new leadership at CDC. People able and willing to chart a new course. As my father once said, progress is a nice word, but change is its motivator. And change has its enemies. That's why we need new blood at CDC. That's also why it's imperative.
Dude, I mean, this is like Hideo Kojima levels of disease, man. Okay? This is like a Hideo Kojima boss, okay, in the Metal Gear series called Disease Man, being like, that's right, I'm one of the 4 horsemen. I'm here to bring about disease. It'll be your salvation. Millions must die. Children must get polio. It will only make them stronger. And people are just looking at this and going, nah, that's my guy, dude. It's crazy. Like, he is seen as like a popular person. He is seen as a popular figure in this administration. How nutty. What the fuck is bro talking about? Like quarantining and masks didn't mitigate infection rates and deaths? Yeah, it's over. Like, the COVID stuff totally bricked people. It totally bricked people. There are so many people that just like straight up think it's like both fake, but it was also a bioweapon, and the vaccines were worse. And the mask mandates were completely ridiculous because it was fake, even though it killed people because it was a bioweapon. Like, it is so inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense, but it does not matter. There are people who just are, their brains are completely busted on this, okay? And here is Holy Toledo himself. Support for vaccinating kids against infectious diseases dropped from 81% in 1991 to 51% last year.
This has to do with Florida, where they're trying to overturn all vaccine mandates, including vaccine mandates.
It's so funny because vaccine hesitancy has been deployed as a weapon for political instability overseas, or has been an unfortunate byproduct of like American intervention overseas. And we're doing it to ourselves. We are doing it to ourselves. It's just pretty funny to think about like America cooking its own future like this, a plague upon our own homes.
In school for children. What do the polls tell us about that?
Okay, this to me is one of the most interesting and, in my opinion, most troubling trend lines that we have seen. Okay, vax kids against infectious diseases, the government should require it. You go back to 1991, it was 81%, okay?
1991, holy Toledo.
Then we go to 2019 at 62%. Look at where that number fell to by 2024. It was just 51%. That is a 30-point drop from 34 years ago. My goodness gracious, now a bare majority say that the government should in fact require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases. Amongst Republicans, it's the opposite. The majority say the government shouldn't require it. Now, I should point out this does depend a little bit on question wording. The polling out this morning says that the government should encourage it, but encourage it is very different from requiring it. And when it comes to requiring it, the American public has become increasingly skeptical of the idea that, in fact, the government should require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases.
I mean, what do you say to that? What can you say to that? I always talk about like how if everyone believes the fake thing and it is a part of the collective understanding, then what use is there for the truth? Like, what use is there to try and advocate for social welfare in some degree when people are just saying like, nah, that's not for me. Social welfare, vaccines, that's gonna make me gay and autistic. Don't want it, brother. Like, what do you do? It's kind of like that quote, you know, to be well adjusted to a objectively insane society, to an objectively unhealthy society is no measure of mental sanity. It's cooked.
And we remove officials with conflicts of interest and catastrophically bad judgment and political agendas. We need unbiased, politics-free, transparent, evidence-based science in the public interest. Those are the guiding principles behind the changes at the CDC, and that is what you can expect all across.
Are you sponsored by Pfizer? Hell yeah, brother. I love Big Pharma. I'm sponsored by Pfizer. No, man, I just think vaccines are good, okay? I think it's important. It's important to vaccinate because I'm not a psycho, because I'm not a caveman, okay? I don't know how else to describe it. I'm pro-vaccine, okay? You got me. Always have been. I am pro-modern medicine, okay? It is the reason why we live till the age of 70, okay? The reason why the average life expectancy has shot up, even though America, it's going down quite a bit, to like 70 plus, is directly a consequence of vaccines and modern medicine. Because the life expectancy doesn't mean that like people just like always automatically died at the age of like 30 or whatever back in the day. Modern medicine and specifically vaccines made it so that like these incredibly unfortunate childhood deaths due to disease, preventable diseases that are now preventable because of vaccines, no longer cook people, no longer kill children, which is the reason why the life expectancy was significantly lower back in the day. I cannot believe we are still having like a debate about this. It's one of those things I never really imagined we would be debating in 2025. If you were to tell me 10 years ago that like Americans would be sincerely discussing how bad vaccines are, I just would not. I don't think that I would ever see the day. It's so crazy because like people partially look to the success of vaccines to present an anti-vaxxer stance. They go, well, there's no more polio. It's not a problem any longer. Not realizing that that is because of the vaccines, dumbass. Like what the do you mean there's no more polio? It's not a problem. Yeah, because of the vaccines. You're presenting an argument that proves vaccine efficacy while simultaneously making an anti-vax argument. This is another byproduct of American entitlement, American individualism, American selfishness, and also a lack of education. Americans are just not critical thinkers at all. We are easily deluded. We are servile little piggies, and we think whatever kind of dumb opinion that we have arrived at on our own without actually doing the proper research, proper education, and demonstrating even a fraction of the critical thinking necessary is actually a unique opinion that everyone must listen to and everyone must agree with. Everyone must agree with this opinion because I'm a unique little snowflake and I came up with this opinion and therefore it's good. Oh, you don't want to hear my perspective? It's like, no, I don't actually, because you're a idiot and so am I. The difference between you and I is that I recognize that I'm a idiot. You don't. And for that reason, I take advantage of the marvels of modern medicine and the thousands of years at this point of medical research that have gotten us to this point, and I just delegate the responsibility to the experts. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a doctor, and neither are you. And we do this every day. We take this for granted every single day. There is a reason why your meat that you consume is not poison, okay? The meat that you consume, that you purchase at a grocery store, has been, at the very least, in the past, with a competent government, was checked, okay? Was checked by a regulatory agency. You don't have to consider whether or not the meat that you're purchasing at the grocery store is going to poison you and kill you. We take this kind of for granted on a daily basis. And the same goes for vaccines and things of that nature. We just take it for granted and then we detangle and undermine the people that are, the people that have spent their whole lives researching this stuff, trying to make sure that it is as safe as possible, trying to improve social welfare. So crazy.
They're making it laws where you can't drink when you want to.
Like that's a mother, bro.
With a baby in the front seat. You have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving and pretty soon we're going to be calling this country.
That's just typical American shit, though. Like, that's it. We just have this brain rot, this brain disease where we just think like any kind of restriction for social welfare, any sort of regulation for social welfare to improve people's chances of survival in spite of their own stupidity is actually bad.
And you're also repeating now that she is a liar, correct? What you wrote in the Wall Street Journal.
If she wrote that I fired her because she refused to sign on in advance for the ASIP committee. No, that's not accurate.
All right.
Like when I see this level of psychosis, it makes it really hard to assume we can get out of this without like some semblance of education. Like we need like a broad education initiative. You might call it re-education, but I think it's just education. These people need to learn. Like they need to be deprogrammed by like an army of social workers and like counselors and mental health therapists. Their brain is busted. Their brain is broken. What do? What do we do?
Next question. President Trump, who I don't usually agree with, called COVID vaccines, quote, one of the greatest miracles in the history of modern-day medicine that saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. Scientific community agrees with Trump.
Oh, God. He praised Operation Warp Speed because Donald Trump is responsible for it. But also simultaneously, he's saying the vaccines are killing people and they're bad. And it's like, how? Okay, so Donald Trump actually is responsible for the mass murder of Americans that the vaccines killed, you know? This is the other side of the story. It is so inconsistent. It is so stupid. It makes no sense. This kind of conspiratorial thinking should not fall apart with surface level questioning, okay? Like you shouldn't be able to undermine this system that you have designed with like 2 follow-up questions, okay? But that's perhaps the reason, or that's perhaps the clearest indication that like these guys push for RFK Jr. and his way of thinking, or his lack of thinking rather, because they didn't arrive at this conclusion through logic and critical thinking and reasoning. They arrived at this conclusion through fear and anger and resentment. I didn't love the inject this undercooked vaccine into your arm or lose your job approach. Vaccines work, but they had this one out in like what, 3 to 5 times faster than any other. That's the problem. You once again go, oh, it's undercooked. This one is different. I'm pro-vaccine except for this last one. Okay, you're not new or unique in this kind of hesitancy, in this kind of skepticism. This is where the anti-vaxxer ideas start. You're looking for reasons as to why scientists were just like, for some reason or another, scientists were literally actively just putting out something that's going to kill people. And what's really funny about this is that every single one of these dumb that said the COVID vaccine is going to kill people said that it was going to have like it was going to be the Holocaust, you know, like billions of people that were inoculated were going to die any time now, you know, it's going to happen overnight. People that got inoculated were just going to simply perish one day. There are people talking about how like they want purebloods, people that haven't been vaccinated. Why has it not happened? Again, it goes back to the same bullshit where people just like make up these false assertions, make up these hallucinated alternatives, and then alternative reality things that don't actually end up happening, but it's too late. You've already doubled down at that point.
That the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted, and that they should not trust their doctors. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, and by the way, just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, you know, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president, you got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to the American people.
Listen, people disagree with me all the time. I have arguments in my agency, heated arguments every day with Jay Bhattacharya, with Marty McCary, with Dr. Oz.
You have given the names of a few people. I have given you the names of organizations representing hundreds of thousands of doctors and scientists. I yield, Mr. President.
Bro, I've never seen Bernie this heated. I've never seen Bernie this heated. My mother didn't get vaccinated. She got COVID and ended up in the hospital. She nearly died. And to this day, she still blames the hospital and the doctor, saying they didn't treat her properly. There's just no getting through to her. I spent weeks trying to persuade her at least to let my little brother get vaccinated. In the end, he did it without her knowing. I'm from Vienna. This isn't a U.S. problem. It's certainly becoming more and more of an issue all around the world. But I think like an ever-present issue here in America. I'm an American. Obviously, I know, American societal attitudes a lot better than I know anything else. But I will say, when you look at the data on this stuff, like America is definitely the clear-cut winner on vaccine hesitancy. I mean, 51%, dude. We just looked at it. 51%. I feel like is worse in the US than anywhere else. Half of the places where there is vaccine hesitancy is because we exported that fucking brain rot. Or we imported the brain rot, like with Andrew Wakefield. We imported the brain rot from other countries that dealt with this problem on their own, like the UK. And then we got the guy who actually did the vaccine, the number one like anti-vaxxer, the most famous anti-vaxxer. We brought him to the United States of America and we made him a legend, dude. It feels like there's no comparison, but I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I'm American.
You would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
You want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access.
It depends on the states.
A year ago,
but they can still get it. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it, Senator.
Because the reality of the matter is, if this kind of life-saving medication is paywalled, then no, everybody can't get it. This is at the heart of the problem. Good luck explaining this to the rest of America who are so used to for-profit health insurance.
So look, let's move on. You clearly are taking away vaccines. I've seen the list for what's coming up next, and that is the agenda for the next CDC vaccine panel. And first up is ratifying your COVID actions. Second is hepatitis B is on the agenda. So should Americans expect you to take away hepatitis vaccine access as well, even though you promised not to?
As I said, I'm not taking vaccines away from anybody.
Okay, same answer, right? You're just going to deny that when people can't get access, that you're not taking it.
Dog, you are not a random podcaster. You are directing the CDC to no longer recommend this vaccine, which means it will no longer be covered by health insurance, which means people will have to pay out of pocket for it, which means they're just not going to get it.
Away. Then let me ask you, is that the same game you're going to play with measles,
you want me to recommend every product in the world?
No,
so that without any clinical trial data.
Through on your promises.
Yeah, my promise was to give.
A month ago, we could get COVID vaccines by just walking.
You can still get COVID vaccines, Senator.
You are taking that away.
No, you are you can still get the COVID vaccines, and Medicare will still pay for them, and Medicaid will still pay for them.
Head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign?
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no. So if you had an employee.
This is like a kid is talking. That's their counter narrative here. That's the argument that they're presenting. That's awesome. God damn, you literally have to have the same kind of brainworm that dip has to agree with this, to believe that this is like a serious move.
Panel that was charged with recommending vaccines to the CDC. No one in your job has ever fired every committee member all at once. That month, you told the American people that you were, quote, going to bring great people onto the ACIP panel, not anti-vaxxers. Are you aware that one of the people you put on the panel, Dr. Robert Malone, claimed that the commonly used mRNA vaccine, quote, causes a form of AIDS and can damage children's, quote, brains?
Oh my God, that's a Joe Rogan guy. Oh my God, Dr. Robert Malone. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's like another one of these like COVID era massive anti-vaxxer guys. It is unbearable, dude. It is maddening. These guys are real ass demons. Yeah, this is Joe Rogan occupied government.
Should parents and schools of Colorado be prepared for more measles outbreaks as a result of that, Mr. Secretary?
Senator,
how about more mumps outbreaks?
I do not anticipate a change in the MMR vaccine. ACIP is an independent panel. So
well, it's a panel. You just put those folks on. Far from what you said, they're people with ideas that are completely outside the mainstream.
You mean out of the pharmaceutical paradigm?
Let me just say, Mr. Secretary, all these vaccines that we're talking about today are free and accessible to parents.
I think one of the dumbest parts about like the vaccine hesitancy beyond that it's just born out of like ridiculous fears is that there is no reason for it. Like, what's the reason? Why? I hate big pharma. I hate that there is any sort of profit incentive in healthcare. Okay? It should not exist. But why? Like, these guys, their answers for the why are so stupid. Like, they literally think, oh no, they want to give everybody gay autism. Like, that makes no sense. Why? Why do they want to give everybody gay autism? They want to kill everybody? Why? Why do they want to kill everybody? It always goes to like, oh, they want to do government control. And it's like, okay, but don't you feel like they're killing by your own estimation? Don't you feel like they're killing the most servile people? And the only ones that will remain will rise up against the government? Also, why would they want to kill all of these people anyway? What's the purpose? It just doesn't make sense. It's literally the most limited scrutiny, just marginal scrutiny, and everything falls apart.
I assume they will be.
I will hold you to that, Secretary Kennedy, because this is not a podcast. It is the American people's health that's on the line here. This is the last thing, by the way, our parents need when their kids are going back to school, is to have the kind of confusion and expense and scarcity that you're creating as a result of your ideology. I think it's critical for you to share the evidence that this panel will rely on. Will you give the American people 6 months or 6 weeks in advance the record that they're going to rely on to make these decisions?
I think someone unironically thought RFK Jr.'s insane breathing into the microphone was me eating and got mad at me. Notice how I'm eating right now and you're not hearing a single noise? That's because there's a noise gate. It's actually RFK Jr.'s breathing that you're hearing, and you're yelling at me over it.
What you said were lies. You described people moving the Titanic.
Senator, are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here.
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked
Kennedy.
you a question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve.
Bro, I've never seen Michael Bennett this animated. And I'm a Bennett head. I think these guys, I'm not even kidding. I don't like, normally this is theater, right? And in some respects, in the absence of any sort of initiative, any sort of change coming from the regulatory agencies, that is all this will be. I'm not kidding when I say like the reason why these guys are this mad about it is because this is objectively insane. It's so insane that these like otherwise indecent charlatans who normally don't care about any of this are unironically pissed off, which makes sense. I mean, this guy is actively undermining the public good, the social welfare of all citizens. It's psychotic. I'm sorry, you can't have a guy with complete control over the CDC be a guy who says like there's an African version of AIDS that's different, you know? And I'm not saying that because, oh my God, it's racist. Like, it's insane. It's just not real, as many, if not all, racist statements. This one is also not real. And it's extra crazy when the guy pushing that, the guy pushing these narratives is like a anti-vaccine, anti-modern medicine kook. Like I said, what I don't fully understand is how these dipshits, like how capital owners don't actually have an issue with this or want to like actively change this outcome before it goes too far.
I thought taking on chronic illnesses was going to be important. I've got 2 kids, as we discussed when we met, that have chronic illnesses. I'm not sure that the focus on red dye and seed oils are going to fully solve that problem.
Of course they won't.
I would say this, that seems where your emphasis is. I want to go back to just, again, some basic facts. Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
It's your job to know. What do you mean you don't know? It's crazy. I mean, I know why he's saying that, because he can't say what he truly thinks, because then people are going to be like, you're a insane person. So he has to be like, I don't know how many people died.
Have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because there was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there were so many perverse incentives, and these are modeling
You don't know the
studies.
answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent?
Yeah, he's trying to say he knows, or he knows what the official number is of the agency that he is like in charge of. He just wants to say that like they fucked up the numbers. Also, remember, RFK Jr. holds these two conflicting positions in his mind at the same time. One is probably being advocated by the worm. The other one is whatever remains of his brain. RFK Jr. one believes that COVID actually wasn't as deadly and that the CDC actually lied about the numbers in order to push a vaccine. But he also thinks COVID was an incredibly deadly bioweapon designed by Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese.
We've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacked certain races disproportionately. The races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure, genetic differentials among different races of the receptors of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
So how is it that these two things can coexist at the same time? Unless you're saying like the Ashkenazi Jews and the Chinese that created COVID as a bioweapon actually failed to deliver like a bioweapon that was as deadly, which from what I understand, that's not actually what his advocacy is. So
I don't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services? How can you be that ignorant? Like, you know, I remember when we went to the hearing with you, I asked you about community health centers. You didn't know what role they play. I've been visiting community. I'm glad you got to one. I think in April. I tell you what I hear on community health centers, they are terrified. With all due respect to my good friend, the chairman, of the big awful bill.
Not to be the friend who's too woke, but like a lot of my anger and resentment certainly extends to the Democrats as well, who have allowed this unjust system of for-profit medicine and for-profit healthcare to continue without genuinely advocating for change and the eradication of profit from the field of healthcare and medicine in general. This is why there is so much skepticism. A lot of people's starting point about big pharma unironically stems from they say big pharma sucks because it's all at the behest of profit. They only care about the profit. That's perhaps part of the reason why in places where there are a less obvious profit incentive in like socialized medicine structures, there's less vaccine hesitancy. That's it though. That's where a lot of people's anger and resentment starts off at. The notion that it is anti-human that these companies are actually paywalling life-saving medicine. That is so against the human condition, that is so anti-human in general, that I think it breaks people's brains when they see that. So once again, the free market capitalism has caused Americans to shoot themselves in the foot once more. Worst part is that people who got COVID after getting the vaccine then said the vaccine was the COVID didn't hit them that hard. Yeah, no, you took the vaccine. Yeah, it's the same principle behind people that advocate against the polio vaccine. They're like, well, there's no polio. It's like, yeah, of course there's no polio because there's a polio vaccine. Yeah, I know. You're talking about the unimaginable success of the marvels of modern medicine.
Wait,
that was a statement.
I did not say that.
Okay, then let me ask, because you also...
Senator, I just want to make clear, I did not say that.
We'll check the record. That's a question of fact. You also said that you were also, as lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp.
Are they all trying to get RFK to hyperventilate and pass out so they can point at him and laugh? That this is the guy who thinks he can make us healthy. Yeah, that's the goal. They're trying to kill him by having him talk too much because it's clearly very difficult for him to do so. He's like, I did say warp speed is great. He needs a Nobel.
I had 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. It also surprises me because you've canceled, or HHS did, but apparently under your direction, $500 million in contracts using the mRNA vaccine platform that was critical to Operation Warp Speed. Again, an accomplishment that I think President Trump should get a Nobel Prize for. You canceled $500 million in contracts. Now,
yes, Bill Cassidy, by the way, Dr. Bill Cassidy, also voted to confirm RFK, by the way. I don't know if this is a little bit of buyer's remorse here or if he's just trying to like posture as like a normal human because he realized how devastating this is.
But be tight, please.
First of all, the reason that Operation Warp Speed was genius is it did something nobody had ever been done. I don't think any president but President Trump could do it. It got the
He expedited the murder vaccine, dude. What do you mean? What do you mean? He made sure that the vaccine that literally is murdering people, according to your statements, was brought out super fast. He did that. How does this work?
vaccine to market that was perfectly matched to the virus at that time when it was badly needed, because there was low natural immunity and there were people getting very badly injured by COVID. And then, but it was also brought in therapeutics like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and protocols for treatments. And there were no.
Another thing that doesn't make sense is that a completely separate company, another pharmaceutical company that makes ivermectin, had to literally come out and be like, stop buying our shit. You don't do that if you're just invested in making money, right? But they straight up had to be like, please stop buying ivermectin for COVID. It doesn't work. It's not for COVID. So I guess, that pharmaceutical company is good, or they're somehow also bad because they just didn't want you to take the dewormer
mandates. And then
okay, I have another question, so please, about 15
That's when I began litigating against President Biden's mandates.
It was good when Trump did it. It was bad when Biden did it. It's awesome.